Before the season, we were talking about, like the theme of the show today was concerns. Concerns. Mm-hmm. Well, before the season, we had lots of concerns. Yeah. And I think what's interesting about the season, a lot of those concerns ended up being like huge positives, not concerns at all. So why don't we go through it, or why don't you go through it? Because I know you have a list and I don't.
Yeah. I think, and it's not just before the season. So before the season, one of the perceived bad things that happened was actually a couple of them were certain players that we lost. I think losing DJ Jones, losing Laken Tomlinson in particular, which that's turned out really well for the 49ers. They saved a lot of money on both those players. The defense has been better than ever. Banks has been extremely good, playing at a very high level. Losing Jaquiski Tart allowed for Hufanga to come in and be an all-pro. So it worked out in their favor. Those are things that happened.
Yeah, I thought strong safety was going to be their biggest weakness. It's an all-pro spot.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah,
it is crazy. So I think there are things that happen in life and in football as well that when they happen, you don't understand the reasoning. You can be frustrated, but there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. So before the season, those are the things that happen. Another thing that happened actually before the season was Jimmy Garoppolo staying. And remember all the conversations about, how bad this is and it's not good for Trey. And those things may have been true. But if Trey goes down week 1 and Brock Purdy has to come in immediately, I don't know.
Don't know how that goes. Yeah.
He would have stayed healthy. He would have been as effective without CMC. He would have been as ready. So everything played out really well there to where he was able to take the reins, Garoppolo, and kind of bridge that gap.
If they win the Super Bowl this year, part of the story of this season is the Jimmy Garoppolo chapter, and you got to give him credit. He did the best he could, and he kept this thing rolling. He's a key part of this story.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when you look at those things, I would say as we go throughout the season, another perceived issue that ended up being really good for the 49ers is when Mitchell went down. And yes, it sucked. And of course, we don't want anybody to lose their season the way that he did. But without him getting injured, I don't know if CMC is on this team because the offense probably would have been a lot more explosive. And because of that, CMC ends up on this team. And look, they're undefeated with CMC. So that's another one of those things that was like, man, when it happened, completely sucked. But overall, a good result. What is $40?
That sounds like a bargain.
Sure, your friend told you.
$40. Wow.
Holy.
Yeah. That sounds like someone that's not me. Someone who's single might feel like that's a good bargain. But I'm married. I have a wife, so I wouldn't.
Yeah, just so you know, Grant's married. He wouldn't partake.
Just to let people know, I'm actually married.
Yeah. And he loves her a lot.
To a woman.
And then I would say the last thing that really has happened most recently that ended up being a really, really good thing for the 49ers, I think there was a lot of conversation of, okay, if the 49ers can get the number 1 seed, they'll have home field advantage throughout. They'll have the bye week. Looking back on it, the way that Purdy started out that first game, he had to work through some jitters. And he did a great job working through those, but now he's in his groove. He's in his playoff groove. He knows exactly what to expect. And he was able to rectify a bad first half and turn it out into a phenomenal game. I think if they had had a bye week and he hadn't had that experience, it might have been a disaster coming off of a bye and not keeping that momentum. So I think ultimately not having the number 1 seed actually, especially because nobody got injured for the 49ers, was the best thing for this team in particular.
That's quite a list. That's a good list. Yeah, I mean, I had so many concerns. I thought their offseason was terrible. But frankly, I mean, John Lynch is in the running for Executive of the Year. Yep. He's a very good argument for it. I thought the Brock Purdy pick was cute. I thought it's like you're literally spending a 7th-round pick on someone that you know is going to go on your practice squad. Like, come on. But it turns out that it was probably the greatest Mr. Relevant pick by far of all time.
Oh, it's so even, if he retires tomorrow, it's already way outlived what the expectations were.
So that's another one. I thought that was just so cute. I was like, okay, all right, guys, okay. So you're just getting started on your undrafted free agent class a little early, huh? Great.
Yeah, good.
Well,
good, great, yeah.
Yeah, so I was wrong about that.
You could have taken a center, you could have taken a center with that pick.
Something you need. Yeah, someone who could contribute and actually help.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they did it.
And I think the other thing too, you talk about the offseason, and remember, all offseason that was the narrative. it's like, oh, are we going to go all in? What are we doing? You know, Charvarius Ward.
What do you do? That's it. That's it.
Charvarius Ward ended up being phenomenal. The players that replaced the players that left were phenomenal. And oh, by the way, they did go all in. They just did it before the trade deadline. So
right. And they went seriously all in to the point where people were like, wow, you're pushing all those chips in. Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking right.
Yeah. By people, he means himself, actually.
Yeah. I was like, wow, you can't do that. But again, I'm Jewish. It comes with the DNA.
Right.
I'm also a little Catholic, though, just a little bit.